Well, hey, good morning. And it is morning while I'm recording this. It's Saturday, the last Saturday in March, and we got snow last night. And we have snow continuing this morning, and it's kind of the wet, crusty, heavy stuff. And it's, was it a week or two ago? We had 60 degrees on a Saturday, and I have to tell you, if you guys live in similar climates, I'm here in Michigan. Man, it's kind of the weather's been nuts, but I've got my Shady Lady coffee, so cheers to you. And I have to admit, I stole the idea for today's video from one of my favorite YouTube series or channels, Sea of Tranquility. A music journalist, Pete Pardo, has had this going for years and years, and he has this. This is so silly to say, but this sort of delightfully ragtag group of misfits, of music journalists, of fans, of guitar players, of writers, and they focus mostly on hard rock and metal, but they also do a lot of prog rock, that kind of thing, and so he has no idea I exist, but if you're listening to this, if you're watching this, check out the channel Sea of Tranquility with Pete Pardo. I think you'll get a real big kick out of a lot of the programming there. He has people from a couple of guys from the UK who come on every Saturday, and they have the Hudson Valley Squares, because they're out of the Hudson Valley over in New York, so mid New York state, and the topic that they did that I'm going to shamelessly steal for today is songs that suck by bands you love. I think that was the title of the video. It might just be songs that you don't like or whatever for them. So the rules I sort of put on myself are it has to be in my collection. I'm a lot better now about not collecting things I don't like, at least on purpose. You know, back in the big bad rockin' days of the 90s, it was you had to buy a CD just to get a couple of songs. And a lot of that's, I'm actually going to use all CDs here. And a couple of these I have no problem trashing, and a couple are going to be shots fired, and they might even hurt me to say a little bit. So I'm curious to see. I've decided to stick with sort of the classic hard rock metal vein. I could go country, folk, blues, whatever. But I'm going to stick with artists that for the most part, that we all know and love, and so I didn't really order them. I think I'm going to save one for last, though, because the first one, and this is kind of an easy one, and a lot of people thankfully don't even know about it, because it's ACDC on their 2009 box set Backtracks. They released some of the songs that had been only available on the Australian pressings of their original albums. And there are some interesting songs on here. And then there's the second one, right on CD one. There's 2 CDs and then a DVD. And the song number 2 is called Love Song. It is the saccharine, sweet, it was sort of bad pop music even for the time. Their producers talked them into trying to do something that would get them on radio. Oh, nobody's going to listen to your, Chuck Berry on steroids radio or music. And I wished I had never heard this song. It's so terrible. And Bon Scott, one of the great lyricists in rock and roll, one of the great frontmen, ACDC, one of the great bands. But Love Song, I guess on all of these I will say, do yourself a favor, go look them up. But Love Song is on there by ACDC, and it's just this. It was originally, I believe, available only on the Australian High Voltage album. Next, and here's a band that I don't have a whole lot by, but the stuff I really like. And I don't have the studio version of it. I have, the live version, but this band was, of course, famous for overdubbing its live its live albums. So who knows how much of this is live in studio, but from a Live 3 by Kiss, which I actually think is a very strong record. Track number 15, they really should have closed out the set with Detroit Rock City here, which was track 14. And I believe Michael Bolton helped pen this one, maybe. Maybe it was one of the other power ballads they did, but God Gave Rock and Roll to You Too. And it's the 2 with the Roman numerals. Kiss had its fair share of power ballads and stinkers, in the lost years. The 80s were a mix of really good and not so really good for Kiss. And then in the 90s, they roared back with Revenge, which is where this live album was taken from. This is a really good live album, but to me, and it closes with the Star Spangled Banner, but to me, this album should only have 14 tracks. It should have stopped at Detroit Rock City. And so you notice a trend here, kind of the ballads, because when ballads are done right, I love them. I obviously adore the softer music when it's done well, the folk guys. But for a band like this, it's an atrocity. This one, I have absolutely no problem shaming. And I've said before, I hate to crap on people's art. Let me grab a cup of coffee here a second. Or a sip of coffee. Black Sabbath, and you might think I'm going for Changes or a couple of other songs, but actually I'm going for what is kind of thankfully a lesser known song, and I could pick almost any song on this album. We're talking about the Seventh Star album. It's technically by Black Sabbath featuring Tony Iommi. It was supposed to be an Iommi solo album. The band had a revolving door of members. Iommi was the last man standing from the original lineup. The one that came before this, Born Again in 1983 with Ian Gillan, is one of my favorite Black Sabbath albums. And what's bad is that Glenn Hughes sings on this, the great Glenn Hughes. Eric Singer's on drums. Dave the Beast Spitz is on bass. Longtime Sabbath keyboard man Jeff Nichols is on here. It should have been a really good hard rock album. It opens with In for the Kill, which it stands with any of their non-Ozzy stuff, I think. It was a really good song. And then they go to No Stranger for Love. This horribly overproduced 80s rock song. You would never know in a million years it's Black Sabbath. Hughes' voice was really sweet, even though he was very high at the time. He was suffering from addiction at the time. So, but anyway, it was a single. There's a cheesy video, not cheesy in a good way, cheesy in a terrible way. I really, really don't like this album. I might even say I hate this album. You hear my hound dog upstairs, one of them. So, No Stranger to Love by supposedly Black Sabbath. I don't even count this as a real Black Sabbath album. I don't think Iommi counts this as a Black Sabbath album. Alright, so we're down to the last two, and this hurts because each is the closing track on an album that to me would otherwise be perfect or darn near. And so I'm not really... It's just kind of randomly taking one. Judas Priest got back together with Rob Halford in 2004 for a fantastic tour. They did the reunion. They played Ozfest. I got to see them on that tour. They were phenomenal. Angel of Retribution came out the next year. Incredibly strong album. Kind of picked back up where they left off. This has great songs on it. Judas Rising, Deal with the Devil, Demonizer, Hellrider. Love these songs. I have the vinyl pressing of this too, the vinyl reissue. But the closing track, the 10-plus minute Loch Ness, drags on and on and on. And I know Priest loves being epic, and it's almost like they were trying to prove they could be epic power metal with that. but the doom and gloom, and we talk about Loch Ness and the monster in Scotland, and if it had been like a 3 or 4 minute song somewhere else in the album, might have been okay. But to me, this is another one. It ends with the eulogy going into Loch Ness. This could have stopped with Hellrider at the end, or again, maybe shorten Loch Ness to be 3, 4, even 5 minutes, but 10. It's exhausting. I hate to. It hurts to put down anything from this album because I really, really love this album. Got to see them on this tour as well. Blew the roof off the place at K-Wing Stadium, Kalamazoo in 2005. But Loch Ness by Judas Priest. And the last one, I don't hate to put this song down, but I hate to. This would otherwise be a solid 9. I don't know about 10, but a solid 9 of an album for me. And it's Overnight Sensation by Motorhead. It was their return to being a power trio in 1996. They Mick Burstyn, Wurzel, had left the band. Critics at the time were lukewarm to this. They had some good things, some not so good things to say. I've always really, really liked this album. It opens with just a pummeling song called Civil War, Crazy Like a Fox. I think it was Metal Edge magazine said, it has some yee-haw harmonica on it, which I think is kind of fun. I Don't Believe a Word, Eat the Gun, the title track. Love Can't Buy You Money is just a dirty groove. Broken, Them Not Me, Murder Show, Shake the World. And then it comes to the last song. Shake the World is just, it's bone rattling. It's deep, it's heavy, it gets in your guts. And then they do this acoustic, upbeat song called Listen to Your Heart, which I know Lemmy was probably Lemmy was not a terribly pessimistic man, despite what a lot of people said or thought, or what he even made himself out to be. The sentiment is fine, Motorhead was always very independent, do what you want band. But the song just, man, it's just such a letdown, and maybe I don't know if it sucks, but I really don't like that song at all. And so again, there's another one. Should have ended at 10 songs. Shake the World. That should have been it. So, a much shorter video than normal, which I'm sure you guys are probably thankful for. So, thank you for your kind words in all my past videos. And so, take care of yourselves. Thank you very much. I look forward to seeing and hearing your comments, and we'll talk to you later.